you have this expensive camera, but you don't know how to use it. 3 easy steps how you can take amazing photos. That's really what it boils down to. That's really what I want to explain to you. It's such a simple concept. You just got to stick with me for 5 minutes. I'll explain exposure, which is when we say manual mode, we mean manual exposure. I may go back and forth and say those things, but understand when I want you to shoot in manual, I want you to be able to understand manual exposure and why it's important. I'm going to tell you right now. It's important because you want to be able to control your camera. You want to know, within reason, you want to know everything about your camera. You spent all this money or you got this great gift for Christmas, right? So take it out of the box, right? Have a little fun with me and let's get to the point where you understand how to use your camera and take amazing photos. So shutter speed, let's just start there. What I want you to focus in on your shutter speed is I want you to focus in on what your subject is. Is your subject static? Is your subject, if it's landscape, is it a house? Is something that's not gonna move? It could be, is it a lighthouse that's not gonna move, right? So you have some flexibility once you know whether it's a moving subject. That's the thing, are you trying to show action frozen? Are you trying to show maybe something like the sky a certain way? That comes down to understanding shutter speed. And shutter speed essentially is shutter in your camera. Like I'll show you here. The shutter goes up and down. So you determine, and this is the reason I want you to understand how to use your camera, is how quickly do you want your shutter to go up and down? Do you want it to stay open? Why would you want it to stay open? Well, boys and girls, because you're allowing more light in. The quicker your shutter speed, right? Now this is at 1/8,000th of a second. You see how fast? The less light you're gonna get. So you have to compensate and understand that's basically what shutter speed and exposure, that's their kind of, the yin and their yang, right? The other part of this is let's jump right into aperture. Aperture, that f-stop number, right? The smaller the number is going to be the wider the aperture blades are inside the lens. The higher the f-stop number, to give you an example, if you're shooting at f32, that opening is going to be very small. Versus if you're shooting at f2.8, those blades are nice and wide. So the smaller the number, the smaller the f number, the wider and more open. When we talk about shooting open, all right, we're shooting the lens wide open. I want you guys to understand is when you're shooting at f2, that allows a lot of light in because those blades are wide open, allowing for a maximum amount of light, or more light than you would get if at f11 or even f32. All right, as we close down our lens, because if we want to shoot at f11, f22, f32, you're allowing less light in to the camera sensor, and that's really the exposure is all about exposing your camera sensor to light. The depth of field is dictated by your aperture. The lower the number, the lower the f-stop number, there's going to be a shallow depth of field. So if you look here in the video, this lens is set to 2.8. So at 2.8, a low f-stop number, the background is blurry, all right, and I'm in focus, and the background fades away. That's basically, this is video, but it's the same thing for photography. So I'll give you an example of a couple shots that I shot. This was shot at f2. And you could see in f2 a more shallow depth of field versus this picture here. This was shot at f11, okay? And you could see there's more that's in focus. So your foreground, your subject, and your background are all at f11. They're all kind of in focus to some degree. So jumping back to close up is just understanding how to control your camera is really the key to unlocking photography. It's just, I can tell you, well, I'm going to be able to teach you, you're going to be able to take your photography to the next level. And it could just remain a hobbyist. There's nothing wrong with that. as a hobbyist, you should want to get the most out of your camera. And if you stay with me, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. And if you haven't, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.